Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jill Barker, and I'm the chair of the Park and Rec Commission, and
I'm Lizzie Stell, Chair of the Sports Commission.
I'm happy to make a few introductory remarks, especially to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation for coming to present the budget tonight. I want to tell them how proud we are of the 2 awards that they've earned this year, despite a very tight budget. The 2025 National Gold Medal Award presented by the American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration and National Recreation Park Association. And Arlington County is the 10th year in a row, placing within the top 10 by earning the number 7 spot in the 2025 Trust for Public Lands Park Score rankings of the 100 largest U.S. cities. So thank you very much for well-deserved recognition. Lizzie, you want to say anything?
I'm fine. I don't have anything to say.
All right, well then we can, let's see,
We have, yes. So hello, everyone, again. Marco Rivero on this Park and Recreation Commission's staff liaison, and I'm joined by Mariah Leonard, who's the Sports Commission staff liaison. We do have one public speaker on the line. I did want to note that on the chat, we do have the meeting procedures listed, including how we will be conducting public comment, but also any sort of interactions online if there are folks that are joining virtually. So with that, we can get started on public comments. I believe we have on the line Mr. Brandon Hemmel, if you would like to comment, and we'll have up to 3 minutes to speak, and I will signal to you once time is up.
Good evening. Thank you, Commission, for allowing me to speak. I am the Civic Association President for Glen Carlin, which is on South Carlin Springs Road, next to, of course, Glen Carlin Park and Long Branch Nature Center. I'm speaking about the proposed VHC Health, Wellness, and Behavioral Facility that is being planned at 601 South Carlin Springs, which is on a parcel within our Civic Association neighborhood, and also next to Glen Carlin Park and Long Branch Nature Center to the east. Next to that is an existing resource protection area. Also, the historic Moses Ball Spring is within that property. Right now, within the proposed approved plan, they are looking to build a 146 bed facility at this property. This footprint of this new building with its underground garage, parking, and loop road immediately abuts the Salamander Creek Resource Protection Area and encroaches upon a feature that is long known within Arlington, which is a sledding hill. This park land and quasi-public space, as has been used for many decades, looks to be encroached upon a 65 space surface parking area and a loop road around the facility, which includes, which allows for runoff and impervious surfaces along this area, and also looks to impede usage of the sledding hill and encroaching upon the RPA. There's also a 200-foot paved path within the plan that includes a trespass along the Moses Ball Spring into Glen Carlin. So we wanted to look at, we're also talking about that and concerns. Looking for access in ways to the site to avoid additional runoff, additional impervious surfaces, and looking to downsize this facility as it's been proposed. So that is the reason why I'm here to speak. This facility now looks to increase the amount of light pollution within the area, within residents, and also to the natural area around Long Branch Nature Center. And really does not look at the whole thing as a biophilic design, increasing light pollution and sound pollution and increasing the amount of traffic along Carlin Springs Road. this neighborhood has been a partner with the park system, been a partner with Virginia Hospital Center.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Great. So, it's time for the first item on the agenda, which is, the Department of Parks and Recreation's presentation.
Great, good evening, everybody. The clap at the beginning, right? I am Jane Rudolph. I'm the Director for Parks and Recreation. I'm joined here by a couple of my colleagues. I'd like them to introduce themselves as well.
Good evening, my name is Nikish Jordan, I'm the Division Chief for the Athletic and Facility Services Division.
I'm Ben Harris, Deputy Division Chief for Athletic and Facility Services.
Hello, everyone. Iggy Rodriguez, Manager of Sports Leagues and Athletic Field Management.
And my other colleague, Keisha Holland, will be coming with us shortly. She's the head of our finance unit, but she's just taking care of something. I do want to note before I start, I'm expecting a personal call around 7, so I might need to pop out. If that happens, Keisha or Nikish will take over and then I will pop back in. I apologize for that. So this presentation, is basically the same presentation that I gave to the board on March 5th at my work session. I did take out some slides just to try to make it to go a little faster because I know we want to have a conversation. And I added a slide that Jill had asked me to include about our org chart to give you some context about our department. We are also scheduled, because you all have your meetings on the same nights a lot of time, to have to go to the Forestry and Natural Resources Commission meeting. For those of you who were on the commission last year, we did the same thing. So we will leave here in about an hour so we can get to the next meeting and give our presentation to them at 8 o'clock. So anyway, but we are here today to talk about the county manager's proposed budget for fiscal year 2027. That budget came out in February and it will be adopted by the county board in April. That time in between is when the county board has work sessions. They have them with all the departments. They have them with the commissions. They kind of changed the format this year where the commissions are having their own standalone big group commission meeting. They had some today. They had public hearings. There was a public comment hearing on Tuesday, and there's another one this evening that's happening right now. So this is that period where you go from the proposed budget to modifications that the board might adopt at that April meeting. So we are sort of in the middle of it right now. And so it's a great time to tell you about what we are doing, although I hope maybe you tuned into our presentation, but if not, we will see it here. So are you running? Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll go quickly through this. This is our mission and vision. We actually redid it last year. So if you have a chance to look at it at some point, I appreciate, we're kind of just trying to think about ourselves into the future, keep going. And then this is our org chart, something that Jill was asking us to do, because I know some of you kind of dive in and I know a lot of you did, because we got some really kind of intense questions from you, Jill, from the Park and Rec Commission folks, that it's kind of like how the budget has all these different lines of business. They don't always seem like they make sense. You're not even totally sure where they all belong. So just to kind of give a sense of how we operate, there's me, and we have 4 divisions. We have our community recreation division that does all of our sort of age-based programming from basically preschool to 55 plus, our therapeutic recreation and arts programming. We have Nikisha's division, which is facilities and athletic services. So they do everything by running all our community centers and then also running a lot of our sports programs. They also run the class programs and summer camp and a whole lot of things. We have Parks and Natural Resources, which is what takes care of all of our parks, obviously, and all of our natural resources and our 2 nature centers. And then we're lucky enough in our department to have a division that's called Parkland Development, where we actually plan, design, and maintain and construct our own parks. Not every park system has that. And then also in the system, we just have an administrative unit. We had a deputy a year in that. Gosh, in 2024, that position moved to the county manager. The person in that position moved to the county manager's office, and it has been held as a vacancy since then. You'll see that in the budget presentations being held as a vacancy again next year budget or proposed to be. So I'm currently supervising this group too. So
Are you taking questions now?
I think we should just, if you want to do an org chart, I can, but then we should probably get through the whole presentation.
Yeah, on that org chart. So you have 52.09 full-time equivalent positions in management and administration in the budget. Are
Yeah.
those all on the left-hand side?
No,
Okay.
although a bunch of them are, but they're and this is where I would need Keisha to be able to explain that to you, and we can, but no. And one of the things we've been trying to sort of clean up over the years is making sure those kinds of lines there's about 25 people in these, I think, across. But then some of the missions, administrations, also some of the higher management in the other divisions as well has been moved into that. So I can get you an answer on that.
Okay. Thank you.
No, it is not that top heavy. It's what you're trying to,
Yeah, that's really what we wanted.
No, it's about 20. I don't have the exact number, but there, each one has staff, but it's not.
Because when you count all the individual people on it, there's 52. That's why we thought it was the same number.
Well, then maybe I need Keisha to do it.
She said no.
Yeah.
She said it was.
Okay. All right. Next slide.
Thank you.
Okay, so then quickly, so 2 years ago, we got a lot of funding from the county board on teens, and I just want to quickly touch on it, and we'll just kind of go through. We created a framework. There was 2 years ago, there was a fair amount of overdoses in our schools and in our community, and felt like there was a real crisis in what was going on in the out of school time. And so the board allocated about a little over $2 million in one-time funding that was supposed to last over 2 years to provide after-school programs and other activities for teens. A lot of that funding came to DPR. And we tried to create a framework by which we are offering our programs so that we can just sort of think of it more organically, like a system of things that we're doing for our teens. And so one thing we implemented this past year was this teen pass. It didn't exist before. We have over 5,000 kids with the pass now. Basically, anytime they come into one of our centers, they get clicked in. It's just a way for us to be able to track the youth that are coming into our centers. We also now make it just automatic that you have access to our fitness centers where you used to have to take a class to learn how to use the equipment. Now you just can come in and we'll show you how to use it. And also it helps us to track in real time when kids are coming to do a couple of things. One is helpful for parents because they can track their kids too. But on the next slide, you can see it's also helpful for us. This is a Power BI slide that we can pull up every single day at any time of the day and know where the teens are in our programs. And for example, we saw a lot of kids who were coming after school to Langston. It's not one of our after school sites, but there's a ton of kids there. So we sent staff over to talk to them to see about what they might actually want to happen at Langston, and we can try to see, like, can we provide them some services too? Because there was a lot of them hanging out there. So it's a really cool way for us to see who's in our system at what time and what they're doing.
Question. What happened in February? Like spiked up in February.
So
Oh, yeah, to go somewhere because the snow was too much.
yes, so a lot of it is, so you will see in general, ours really spikes up in the winter. In general, our whole program spikes up sort of from like when it starts getting dark in the fall through around now. And when it gets nice out, they stop coming as much. But also in February, we did a really, one big thing is we had our big Amazon event, which we had over 450 kids come to at one time. So that was also a really big thing that we did.
Schools are closed for a week.
Yeah, they were also closed, and our centers opened a couple of days in, so.
What's the difference between Team Pass and Team Pass D?
Go back.
Back one.
The Teen Pass D is that some kids, we've been sort of struggling with, some kids parents aren't signing off on them having it. So that's a daily pass. We don't want to ever have a barrier that the kids can't come in if they aren't actually having a daily pass. So we've been issuing it so that we can make sure that anybody who actually wants to come in doesn't get turned away. But it's a way for us to still track numbers. So we call this like a daily pass. So we are looking to probably get rid of it and just allow the kids to have their own pass without their parents' approval, but we kind of felt like we're sort of toying with that because these still are minors. And then we also rebranded our after-school program. The kids came up with it. They called it the REC. It stands for something that's in my talking points that I don't have on me right now, but it's cool. They did it. It was their home process. And so we expanded. We used to only do Arlington, Mill, Gunston, TJ. We expanded to Kenmore. It's been really successful. They rebranded it themselves. These are our neighborhood programs. We started doing team nights. We've always done them, but now we're tying them to the after school programs. We've found that tons of kids are staying. For example, we've had over 250 kids a night when we do them at Gunston, for example. And we've created a new after school soccer program, free, no barriers. The kids get uniforms. They run themselves. We just do refereeing for it. It's been really fun for them, and we've had loads of kids doing it. It's kind of just a free, easy way for them to do it. Actually, some of their parents have come to these games and watched them. We're serving meals, so over 3,000 meals have been served to these kids in the after-school program. And then we're also just, a lot of really great things are happening at the after-school. We're really proud of it. Next slide. And then this is just some of the numbers where you all probably know about the college program that we were doing. You can just look at this. I just want to keep going so we have time for lots of questions. So this is now moving into our actual budget and talking about the priorities that that we had to go through. You may know that this year's budget clearly was difficult, not obviously for DPR, but also for the whole county. There's a large budget gap. There was over $10 million worth of reductions that the county manager was proposing. And you'll see as I go through this, 2 million of it is in DPR. Those cuts are the result of our taxes, different types of taxes are going down, but yet our expenses as a county continue to go up. Mark Schwartz has talked about how those expenses are around staffing, just general, and healthcare has gone way up and other things. It just continues, our expenses keep rising. He also has talked about the need that the costs have gone up also because of collective bargaining. Those collective bargaining are specifically for, fire, police are much higher. There is a collective bargaining unit in Department of Parks and Recreation. It's called Service, Labor, and Trades. That one also has gone up, but only so that he proposed a 3% increase for salaries across the board for employees, and service, labor, and trades increase is about 3.5%. The one for fire and police is significantly higher. And so when he did that tax rate increase initially, the proposed one, although the board actually proposed even a higher level, it was to also help pay for that because he didn't want to take the other departments having to take even more cuts to pay for public safety's salary increases. So just to try to give a little context, it was a very difficult budget year. And often in those cases, like parks and maybe for all hertz, like parks, libraries, and some other departments often take a lot of those, take a large part of those reductions. So this is just to show though, what our adopted budget is, what our proposed budget for next year. We still are a very large department with a lot, and just so you understand, like our employees, it's a lot of it is personnel. Our expenses change, our revenue has gone down, and then our staffing levels are also going down as well. So as I mentioned, we had a number of reductions. The biggest one being the repurpose of the Barcroft Sports and Rec Fitness Center at almost $1 million. And I'm just going to quickly go through, I'm not even going to go through these because each of these has their own slides in a minute. So we just quickly, this is sort of the summary that we provided, but then we can jump into it. And I do kind of spend some time on the gymnastics reduction. Really impactful to the community of gymnastics, also really impactful to the staff that it would be reduced. So I don't want to make it seem that that is not something that we are very much aware of. But when we saw this gap in the how much money the county was putting towards running the program and recognizing the budget reductions that we need to take, we made this difficult decision. So I'll show you the next slide because it really shows how we sort of got to this to some extent, which is the county, as you all know, runs a lot of classes and programs across the board, anything from our Enjoy catalog, our 55+ catalog, summer camp. And years ago, before I got here, they created a cost recovery model that helped to sort of figure out like how are we setting fees? Because the time before that, the fees were sort of set a little more arbitrarily. So we created, and it'll be on the next slide, this pyramid that sort of helps to show the current cost benefit of the program. So these different tiers goes from 100% like personal. You may recall 2 years ago, many of you were still on these commissions, and 2 years ago we cut another year where we had reductions. We had to cut the personal training program because that was at the highest 100%, but it was not meeting our cost recovery goals at all, and yet it had a really high level of personal use. And so we realized in that case that was no longer something that should be, it was taking up a lot of room in our gyms. So that had 2 permanent staff that were reduced as well as some temporary staff. And then kind of working all the way down to like basically our parks, literally our park system, which is the stuff you could sort of walk into and it's free. And then through that, we set the fees based on this levels. So that is just to kind of give some sense of where it is. So the competitive teams and our classes are at that level 4. Thanks. So just to give a sort of look back over 10 years. So this is on our competitive team that sort of currently we were doing on FY fiscal year 25 because that was the last completed year. So there was 154 kids in the program. We sort of showed resident, non-resident, and then the cost recovery levels over the years, the revenues and expenses. And you can see the sort of the kind of program over the years kind of tells its own story. And then the next slide, just again to sort of show teams by the girls team, the boys team, and then resident and non-resident as well. And then these are within these programs in the competitive team, there's a lot of levels, just to sort of show like it's a pretty robust program for the currently 148 kids who participate, the different levels, because obviously you have to progress as you go along. You start off as kind of like going in, and that progression helps to sort of also think about the hours that these kids are spending in it. So at, a younger kid who just started off, it's probably spending about 6 hours a week in the gym, and then anywhere, I think as you get up higher and higher, it's up to 20 hours a week. This program does still apply for fee reductions. So we have 13 participants in FY25 who were getting fee reductions as well. And then we also in the gym have classes. And again, you can see where we have the kind of classes that we have offered over the years. We have really struggled since COVID to hire enough staff to run our programs in gymnastics. We believe that this is a sort of regional issue. We've just had a hard time being able to retain staff or even hire staff when we go out to do postings, even now. Well, not now right this minute, but like even earlier this year, like we were not getting people applying for the jobs. Whereas for other positions, our department will have over 200 applicants. It feels we've heard in gymnastics there has been a hard time hiring. And so as a result, what's really taken a hit has been our class program. We really feel committed on the competitive to the kids that they have to be able to do their practices. So the classes, we've actually had to cancel a fair amount of classes over the past couple of years because we don't have enough staff to run them. So that's where you'll see this big decline in our ability to have classes. So again, and then we also have a program for adaptive gymnastics. You've heard about that. It's on Sunday mornings. It serves preschool to 8. It's really a beautiful, like a lovely program. One thing we've said that is if the cut is taken by the county board, we will find a way to provide a gymnastics or movement type class for people with disabilities. At one point we had them at Langston, another time we've had them at Dawson Terrace. We will look to do something that continues to help to serve that population. This is just some space usage comparisons to sort of get a sense of what's going on. Just we know that there are times of the day where the gymnastics program is really vibrant and super busy in the gym, and that's pretty awesome when we see that. But there are also other times during the day when the gyms are pretty vacant, just because of the nature that you really can't put in a lot of other types of classes in those gyms based on all the equipment and things. And so as a result, we're just trying to sort of show based on Lover Run is about the size if you put the two gym 1 and 2 together. At Barcroft, it's about the same size as Lover Run, probably gym 1 and 2 together is bigger. But just as you may come here on a weekday, you can see that often at Lover Run, there's a lot of 55 plus programs happening in our gym or pickleball or whatever. And then obviously throughout the weekend and nights, we have a lot of going on, but just to try to give some space comparison. So, and then this is a slide from our PSNP statistically valid survey. This is not to, we know that for the people who do gymnastics, it's really important to them and their families. And I have a lot of empathy for what they're going through right now, but we're just trying to sort of show where it sort of shows up when we did the statistically valid survey of which 4 programs are the most important to you and your household. It does not diminish that those who did pick it, gymnastics, that it isn't really important to their households, but across sort of a statistically valid survey, just want to see where it shows up.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
For those of us with old eyes, could you go back to that and show us where it shows up?
Oh, sure.
It's here, the 5%.
And this presentation has been shared with Marco. I think will be shared with you on your website, which we'll share with you afterwards as well. And then this is just to show where else in the region there are other gymnastics opportunities. Arlington is unique kind of with Stafford County and Prince George's County as the only 3 jurisdictions that offer these types of programs. And so just to keep going through so we can get on to conversation. So this is the so that was about 900, almost $1 million in cuts. We still have another $1 million in cuts that is being proposed for our department. So one is to continue freezing this position since it's been frozen since August 2024. So continue to freeze this for another year. This is a freeze of 4 positions in our Parks and Natural Resources Department. That freeze for this current year budget started around January. 4 employees retired, and we knew they were retiring just because the way the county system works, you know they're going to retire. So when they retired, we froze the position. So for FY26, it was 6 months frozen, and now we're proposing freezing those 4 positions for another year. Another freeze is in our construction unit. So it's one of our construction managers. When he retired, we also took that freeze as well, and we're going to freeze it again for another year. And then this is also freezing the temporary dollars that we use to help run the Madison Community Center. You may have heard the Madison Community Center will be closing for a year for construction. When that happens, the permanent staff, it's 1 person, will be moved somewhere else, but all the temporary staffing will just freeze out for that year, and we'll come back when the center reopens. This is an actual cut to temporary funding in our Parks and Natural Resources Department. So we have in our department, we have a lot of permanent staff, but we also have temporary staff, particularly in Parks and Natural Resources. They come in seasonally as our park system gets busier and busier. And so there is a chance that you may see a reduction in service without this funding. I thought this is the call, so can you just.
Hello, my name is Keisha Holland. I'm the Department Finance Officer, so we're just gonna tag out really quick, so I'll take over. So this is the reduction of our county mowing. So last year, we actually did a reduction in our athletic fields. So this year, to recognize some savings, we are proposing to reduce the mowing of our non-athletic fields. That's gonna be the grasses and the open spaces along the paved trails outside the perimeter of the program, playgrounds, shelters, bathrooms, and the perimeter of dog parks. And then also we recommended closing the 19 park locations from November to March at all the locations that you see here. Of course, this impacts all of our park users. That'd be I'm sorry. So that'd be a savings of about $51,000. Now, in addition to that, we also recommended this because during the winter months, we actually do a lot of maintenance due to vandalism and just destroying the restrooms. So on top of that 50,000, that's just from our contractual cost that we have. But each year annually between November and March, we actually spend about $35,000 just in repairs and vandalism. So you see that's quite a bit. So there is an opportunity for some savings there, and it does impact the users. Here's just a little bit of contractual landscape maintenance reduction. This would just be reducing our maintenance of our landscape beds in the months of October, December, and January. And they'll be impacted at some of the sites that you see there. And then we propose the freeze of the woodshop program at TJ for 12 months. Pretty much put this up because this is a high cost per participant program. The space that's actually available to use for this program, it's not like, you know, an art class where you can put maybe 20 people in a class. For this particular program, you can only fit about 4 to 5 people at a time. So it's a high cost program. You can't fit a lot of people in there to do enjoy this. So during this time, we were proposing to also take a chance to do some strategic program review, try to see if there's a way to revamp the program to increase participation and just to overall develop a plan that would improve efficiency and long-term sustainability of the program. And so that was our budget reductions. And so,
Okay. Sorry, no, I appreciate it. So there are a couple of ads to our department this year, so I can go through them quickly. So one of them is the congregate meal program. This is a program that we have at 3 of our community centers where we serve meals to low-income seniors Monday through Friday. It's a federally funded program. The money actually goes through our Department of Human Services and then comes to us. It came to us years ago because they wanted to make sure that the program wasn't just feeding some seniors in a room, but actually having them engage and get out of their house and kind of make sure that they aren't isolated. And so that funding is being cut by the federal government. And so this is to offset that cut. This is also, we for a number of years have received in base $100,000 and it's always been one-time funding to augment our invasive plant program. This is the same $100,000 again. It helps us to continue to take down invasive plants and implement a sort of long-term plan that we have to not just remove them, but also maintain them so they don't come back as well. This year, we did our first year of deer management with sharpshooting in our parks, and this is funding to do this again next year because it's a multi-year program. And then this is also one-time funding. Last year was a proposed cut to the NVCT budget. This is one of our partners that we have an MOU with to do conservation work in Arlington. It's a regional group. Last year, the money was restored for one time. And again, that money is being restored for one time again this year. So this is our revenues. You'll see a change. This is mostly based on the fact that as we were looking at our actual adopted versus what was being actuals after FY25, we realized that we were not bringing in as much revenue. So this is sort of a one-time adjustment to try to bring back our revenue amounts to sort of where they actually are coming in at. It is, so there's no change. And then we also, though, none of this changes our fee reductions, which we also continue to really encourage that if you do qualify for one, to please participate. So we are increasing our fees this year just to continue to align with our programs and to look at cost recovery. Prior years in 2025, we had a 7% fee increase. And we again had another fee increase of 10% last year, trying to again bring our fees back to sort of into the cost recovery levels. We know that we need to look to do some work with our cost recovery model across the board, and that's work we're going to start doing this summer with our Department of Management and Finance. So just to see sort of where we are with this fees, again, we have a 3% increase, and then we have a couple areas where we're doing some larger increases, a 10% for our community art classes. This is outside the wood shop, where just supplies have gotten very expensive. We are doing some fee increases for our courts and rentals, and then also for our senior adult travel. I think you'll see some more about that on the next slide. So these are some areas where this is the 3% fee increase. And you'll see some of the sort of bigger ones that be going across, but for community arts, you're seeing they're going up more. The senior travel, transportation has gotten very expensive. And so we've had to, we want to assure that the senior travel, even though it's a nice program to have, that those transportation costs are covered, because it feels like senior travel is a little bit, and when I say this is a 55+ program for travel. And then the room rentals, of course, it seems like it's going up by a lot of money. That those large amounts at the end are specifically for the Hendry House, which is our rental facility that people use for parties and things and like personal events. And we were realizing that we were really under the market on there. So that's why you see from like a $7 to a $4,000 change. The really high end is just Hendry House. And that's because we're introducing some new fees where people can rent it for longer periods of time too. And so just one area of interest in the past, which we continue to track, is the Boeing funding at Longbridge, because that money is beginning to run out. You may recall last year that the board changed the way that we were having it kind of scale out. And so this here is the way it is working, whereas we are moving away from the Boeing funding the facility costs at Longbridge and moving into county, taking over that tax support costs to run the facility at Longbridge. And then we have a couple. Next slide. So my colleague Eric Beach was with me at my presentation on March 5th, because he oversees our capital program. It's really minimal for this presentation. This year is a CIP year. So he will be coming back to your commission meetings to give a presentation on the CIP, the 10-year capital improvement plan. So he'll give you that presentation this year, but I felt like this is going to take 2 minutes and it wasn't worth for him to come. So I can just talk to the slides, because we really don't have a lot in the actual FY27 budget. So you'll see here, this was what PAYGO is, and short-term financing is really what it is. PAYGO is actually net tax support, tax dollars that goes to our capital program, and short-term financing is how we do our fields. And then there's also partnership funding. So this is where we get to that amount. One is this capital asset manager. It shows up every year. We have somebody use our capital asset manager. It's paid out of PAYGO. One is the field fund. That's actually money that's coming in from the sports leagues, but it shows up as if it's money coming in. Then the next one is the funding that we have to do these fields. We're doing field 1 and 4 at Longbridge, and then Marymount is providing partnership funding for that as well, based on their MOU with the county. So that's where you're going to see Longbridge 1 with the partnership money, and then Longbridge 4 is just a straight county replacement. And those are our projects. So that's why I said I didn't think Eric needed to come. But, so with that, I'm happy to go back on the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Keisha's here now. Thank you for taking over for me. And the Keisha are also here to help answer any questions.
A question regarding the amount given to the Conservation Trust.
Yeah.
You mentioned is it in payment for their services or is it to fund new acquisitions?
So there's two parts of the MOU with the county. There's about $68 million, $60,000 that goes towards just their like operations. And that's a contribution for the work that they do in Arlington, promoting conservation programs that they do. They're required to do at least one event a year in Arlington. They sometimes do more. And then there's also a certain amount of money that's been put aside that they don't actually have access to unless they get the conservation and start to move into legal fees and some of the other dollar amounts that you gotta come with getting an actual easement for many, many years. And VCT actually didn't get any easements. And so that money has just sort of sat. It actually never fully gets allocated into our budget. It just will be there if they need it. Although a year or two ago, they were bequeathed a large piece of land, for example, the Tierborough House. And so that was where like they started to be able to access the funding to be able to do some of the legal fees around that. And they actually have now an easement kind of they're working through. And so they're actually accessing it for the first time. So there's two components of the funding to NBCT.
Thank you.
Jane, on the invasive plants, is it okay if I talk?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I have a misunderstanding. I thought from 2012, there was a $100,000 allocation for invasive plants.
So there's in our base budget, we have $100,000. And then for the past few years, we've had an additional $100,000 in one-time funding that has been given to us. So the budget for the past few years has been.
But then, was it in 2025 when I think we had?
We had 300,000. So we had that one time where they gave us 300,000.
300,000 on top of the 100,000.
So there's 100,000 in our base.
So there
We get that every year. Every year we get 100,000 regardless. That's in our base budget. In the past few years, we've gotten 100,000 in one time on top of that. So typically we have about 200,000 going each year. There was this one year where they gave us 300.
And does the combined 200,000 go to IPC contract?
Yes.
Or is that covering staff?
IPC contracts.
Okay.
Does not cover staff. Staff's already funded separately.
I'm Hamilton, and let me just start for Adam and myself for a huge thank you to DPR for providing some beautiful fields this weekend and really making wonderful service. And we really appreciated that. Is that fair, Adam? Fair. But the question I wanted to ask is, we operate for the Frisbee through a nonprofit, EULA, and ASA runs as a nonprofit and then uses the county facilities. So the one thing I was really surprised, that's because I hadn't realized it wasn't a nonprofit. And so my question, that Barcroft does not run through a nonprofit, because I know Woodmont is run by the Y, it's a county facility.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's run by the Y. So I was really surprised. I didn't realize the county was running Barcroft. So my question is.
Also aquatics.
You know,
The county also runs aquatics. So the two sports that the county runs are gymnastics and aquatics.
so my question is, did the county look at possibly having Barcroft gymnastics run through a nonprofit similar to Woodmont and make a cost comparison that way?
We did not in this process now.
I have some questions.
Mhm.
So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Meredith Waring. I, am on the sports commission sort of as the gymnastics rep. So my daughter has been at Arlington area for the last 10 years, and taking classes at Barcroft since she was 3. So for the last 15, Barcroft has been her home away from home and by extension me, although she now drives. So I'm not there as often as usual. I wanted to ask you some questions about, you were saying the hiring has been an issue for getting gymnastics coaches. And you mentioned how, you know, for other positions at DPR, you've had like 200 applicants, but you don't tend to get that many for gymnastics. And I'm just wondering, I mean, we've been hearing that you guys require competitive hiring in DPR. And so you need a certain number of applicants to even be able to start interviewing for a position in DPR. Is that?
That's not true. Like,
Okay.
so we have, if we are, I'll let Keisha talks about this more, but if we have applications to a program, if the applicants are, we will review their qualifications to make sure that they're even qualified to be interviewed, but if they're qualified, we'll interview them. It does not, you don't have to like wait till you get 10 people to.
Okay.
That's-
So I think that's been something we've been hearing from some DPR staff that is the case, so that's interesting. Because we do, I know of at least 2 people that have applied to be a gymnastics coach that are very qualified. One actually, the Keisha you had mentioned in the March 5th meeting with the county board that you guys had offered adult gymnastics classes in the hope that some of those participants would apply to be a coach in Arlington County. We actually have an adult participant in those classes that said she did apply. She's never heard back, just like our AAPA president, Megan Powers, applied back in October and has never heard back from the county on how she could be a gymnastics coach. Of course, Megan has a lot of gymnastics experience. She was a D1 gymnast at William and Mary. So we're just curious about the hiring. It seems like we've had people that have come to us during this whole process and explained that they have applied and they've just never heard back. And then we were told by other county staff that that's because you guys require competitive hiring and not enough people applied for the position.
To Jane's earlier point, if we have one applicant who is qualified, we would interview that person. To kind of speak to what happened exactly with those 2 staff and the 2 applicants that you previously mentioned. I can't speak to that, but we can certainly go back and check out to see what happened.
Okay. Thanks. And then space usage, you were showing how there are periods of time where Barcroft is not really in use, but it seems like there could be probably some more class offerings for, say, preschool kids that aren't in school and the 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock hour. That's definitely not nap time for that little age group. And, that could be nice if we could offer more classes then, but there are also a lot of college teams in the area that have, we have GW, of course, practicing there now. But I know Navy has inquired, the Naval Academy has a boys team, they've inquired about practicing at Barcroft. And then University of Maryland also has a team, but, we currently have that partnership with GW at the baseball fields, and we also have it in gymnastics. So the GW gymnastics team practices there, and they wanted to increase their practice there, but I think that, hopefully that can be worked out if we can keep Barcroft open and save the program.
What specifically is your question?
Well, just, why we haven't looked into offering more classes during that dead time for either preschool kids. We could also offer 55 plus classes to that group that would be maybe more able to be there during those dead times when school age kids are in school.
So I think we can talk a little bit about the classes. 55 plus actually used to be in there before COVID is my understanding. There hasn't been as much interest in coming back, but we could look into it if the building was continued to be open. That could be a possibility. But also I know one of the areas that we've really struggled is the staffing issue, which is that I can go back to the slides. We do have classes there during the time. Each class has about 8 kids per class. And then one of the areas that we struggle with, because we don't have our permanent staff, so a lot of the permanent staff need to work in the evenings. I don't know if you want to talk towards this, but so coming in earlier in the day means they would actually have to leave and then potentially come back. And we've had struggling with being able to get the coaches to be able to do that. We've heard that maybe a willingness to change the way some of the scheduling is going right now, so that if the building was to be left open, we think we might have an opportunity, but in the past, we've had trouble finding staff to actually come during the weekdays because they know they have to come back in the evenings. And then also during the competitive season, they also travel a fair amount with the teams as well, so that it takes up a lot of their 40 hours a week. We're a 40-hour-a-week organization. I don't know if that sort of kind of answers it.
Yeah.
But we could look if the building was, if the board chooses to restore the program, we would look to be able to increase, hopefully hire more staff and then be able to offer more classes.
And would you also offer overtime for coaches that perhaps might go over their 40 hours with travel during the competitive season? Because I think that was offered in the past.
We have used overtime as a tool. The county right now is really encouraging us to not use overtime, not just in gymnastics, across the entire county right now. As you know, we are in a fiscal slowdown. Mark Shorts talked about this actually just the other day. I was watching him at the school board, county board work session and talking about some of the hiring slowdowns that we are in right now, and also discretionary funding, and overtime is one area where we're actually trying to bring it down. We've known we had to offer overtime at one point, but overtime is not a staffing solution in the long run. Across the board.
And let me ask a follow-up question because I'm still a bit confused. Why does the county choose to run swimming and gymnastics directly rather than going to a nonprofit? Like, because I wouldn't dare to say, hey, Lizzie, let me run ASA. Soccer, you know?
So years and years ago, the county ran all of these things, and then they slowly kind of rolled off as they've become bigger and bigger. I can't tell you the history of why that we continued specifically with aquatics and gymnastics and they did not roll off. I will say that 2014, 2013, there was a process at which when we had issues regarding non-resident fees, where we had ended up having a work group on gymnastics and aquatics. One of the ideas there was to roll them up. But at that point, the two clubs, I'm not saying that there might be an interest now to do it, but at that point, those clubs did not want to take on running the both of them, all sides, all three clubs didn't want to take on the running of the programs. And then also historically, these are now county employees. And so if they were to roll off and say become a program of somebody else, either a private gym, those county employees still would not be able to probably stay as county employees. They would have to become employees of the, so there's a little, some of it, to be honest, is just history.
Yeah, Mark, like the gymnastics program has been going for over 50 years, or almost 50 years, maybe it's 47 or something.
And I was told that there was actually gymnastics in the middle schools 40 years ago. Like, really?
That's where it started. And then it came to the county in the 90s.
Something I've noticed, and you can look at the data from various Arlington County reports, is that birth rates in this county are dramatically declining. So I'm curious to see whether that's going to show up in cuts to preschool programs in the next few years. Because if you look at, say, 2015, there were over 3,000 births to Arlington residents. By 2023, that was down to about 2,200. And the rate has since declined since then. So I'm curious to see if you've noticed that lower number of preschool students.
So our preschool program is not particularly that large. So we have two full day programs, one here in Lovett Run and one in Gunston. They each are in a room. And then we have one at Carolyn Springs, one at Fairlington, right? That's it. And that's it now. So we have 4 preschool programs.
So their enrollment's been generally the same.
Consistently, the enrollment's been generally the same. That said, again, and I'm not saying this at all, but like we had budget cuts. We've had budget cuts. DPR's had budget cuts almost every year since I've been here. And so if we continue to have budget cuts, we will continue to have to look to closing down facilities and potentially looking at programs where there might be other alternatives. And that potentially could be a conversation.
Yeah, and the other factor, number of kids in Arlington, is when people have kids, they move to Arlington. Like, hey, where are the great schools? Where's right next to the city? Hey, I'm moving out of DC. I'm going to Arlington. Ta-da! We did that.
Yeah, I don't think birth rate is the thing.
So you have to add both. and you have
You're
to add-
suggesting a migration of people with kids.
Yep.
I'd add on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't, school population been ticking up generally over the last? It was. Yeah. So.
Could you go back to the cost recovery at Long Bridge Park, that slide? What is the plan for the cost recovery? Is it just raising fees?
Wait.
So I can provide you all with more information, because this is just showing like the Boeing funding and the county net tax support.
Okay.
There is also, we are bringing in membership fees. And that offsets, cost us more like, was it $5 million to run the facility?
About 4.
Yeah, so we're bringing in several, like one plus close to $2 million in revenue every year, which is tied to memberships.
Okay.
It's not tied to classes or other programs that go in there, but it's mostly tied towards memberships and day passes. And so that offsets it, but we've always known, and this was part of the 2016 work that was done before the building was built, that we knew that there would always be a county contribution or need to help run the facility.
Okay.
In the same way that our facility costs at any building like here is not attached to, here is not attached to cost recovery at all. All of our facility fees are outside programmatic fees.
A question about the cost recovery for a while. You know, we've had 2 years of increased fees.
Mhm.
And we're gonna have another one. Do we have any work or anything you can speak to as to whether the increased fees are creating a decrease in the number of people who sign up for the classes? Do we have any kind of analysis of what similar classes in nearby jurisdictions cost?
So we do benchmark ourselves against other jurisdictions. We're typically in the middle. Sometimes we're a little bit higher. Actually, Nikkish, because she runs a lot of them. This is the work so the 2 years of fees that we, that big ones, the 7% and the 10%, we really kind of leveled off during COVID and tried not to increase fees as much, but yet our expenses never went away. Even with COVID, we weren't running programs. And so that was trying to be a catch up. The 3% this year is really more just tied to CPI and increases. It's not, trying to just adjusting, knowing that it's going to cost a little bit more to run programs. We are going to do work on our cost recovery program. We hope to start this summer. We had hoped to do it sooner, although we've had a lot of vacancies in our finance unit that's just made it so that's been kind of hard for us to do that work. But our Department of Management and Finance has committed to do it with us to make sure that our models are still working for across this whole system.
Because we were surprised that the revenue projections were lower for this year despite the fee increase.
So I think Keisha could talk about it a little bit, but as I said, I think earlier, that really was more an adjustment that in the past we were budgeting ourselves too high and our actuals were not coming in at the level that they should have. So it's like we were trying to make sure that we are being more transparent with the public on our fee, what we're actually bringing in. So this is like a 1-year adjustment. We think that going forward, it'll be more consistent with what the revenue we're actually bringing. What you see every year is budgeted. You don't see actuals.
And as far as the recreation gymnastics classes, you can go on save arlingtongymnastics.com. We've done a lot of work with that and private gyms that offer gymnastics, recreation gymnastics classes are about double the cost of what the county is currently charging. So the county is sort of undercharging for recreation gymnastics classes compared to the private gyms that they would like the thousands of kids that are currently served by the Barcroft gymnastics program to then try and go to, which are usually also full and have wait lists.
Question about the 175,000 that you're cutting to, build the slide that has the.
Park Center Resources, temporary employees?
Yeah. So the reductions are going to be in frequency of landscape maintenance activities. Is that those are the things that we should expect? You said may see a reduction in service. Those are specifically the areas that.
I mean, it's going to spread across the whole system, right? So every public, PSA or park service areas, and every unit has temp dollars, so it will be spread across. So you may not see the impacts like immediately, but you will see that there will be less temporary staff in the system.
Okay. And the 4 positions that you're freezing, how is that saving on the budget? Because you're already not, I mean, the last year's budget, it wasn't in there either, right? The amount of money that, well, those.
So for the 6 months, right? Yeah, for the 6 months of this year, yeah. It was just I'd say they all retired in January, so 6 months of this year.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. How we're saving is that we're not filling the positions.
No, right, I thought it wasn't in last, but it was in last year's budget. This year, it's not going to be in the budget.
Right, but the idea, the funding is that we're just not hiring them. That's the rest with the freeze basically is that.
Okay, and what are those staff, the 4 staff that?
Can you switch to that one?
This one?
No, oh yeah, sorry. So it is 3 fields, yeah, two trades worker, 1 urban forester, and 1 trades lead manager. It was the park service area manager up in PSA 1, So that will be frozen. It was an urban park forester who does a lot of our, reviews, so our review times could be a lot slower on our, on different plans, and then it was 3 trades workers in the field. 2 trades workers in the field.
So, will there be any impact on athletic field maintenance?
There, it is
It's
listed,
listed there, but I don't see any staff members that would be working on.
sorry,
athletic maintenance.
it could be with those 2. I'd have to find out.
Stuff or be that.
It's one of the 2 trades workers and is an AFM staff.
Okay, okay, because that's, I mean, that's an area where, I mean, the county is already like way understaffed, for the athletic fields they have. Okay, thank you.
On the closing of the bathrooms in the winter, is there wiggle room on the dates that those will be closed and opened? They're closed for part of the winter, but maybe open earlier than the middle of March.
So I think we talked that we know, like, for example, about the assist tournament.
Yeah.
That there may be a need to open a couple of them like a week or 2 earlier. But in general, not too much because you really want to be able to get the savings from it.
What an estimate of the cost associated with keeping the bathrooms closed, because I'm not to say this delicately, but what should be in the bathroom ends up in the park. And you have to clean that up.
We typically don't clean up human waste, but on the flip side, I think you would ask the question, Jill, about how much it costs. One of the areas we've really been struggling with lately is vandalism in our parks or in our restrooms. People have been like seriously destroying them. We estimated we would, if we closed all of these in the winter, that we would save $35,000 in what we've been spending over winters or trying to restore them. When people do vandalism there, it can actually be quite extreme. So we don't have an offset on what we're doing in the park if people relieve themselves. And the other issue is we just don't know what the weather will be like, right? So like this winter was pretty cold and we don't know how many people were in the parks. I will say that, yeah, I'll be curious to see what this lands.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really nice to have some understanding of who is getting, who would ordinarily use those restrooms. Like, is it families with diapers and all that stuff, or is it mostly just teenagers or?
I mean, the restrooms are often ones that are on trails or in high trafficked areas. So like Longbridge ones are typically open before, but like the idea when my understanding, because this happened before I was director, is the original cut, because there's a lot of restrooms. This is only like a portion of the restrooms. We have tons of them. Was that these ones were strategically kept because they're high trafficked areas. And that's why they were kept open in the winter. Whereas a lot of our restrooms in other locations are closed during the winter. So we have we've got a ton of restrooms elsewhere too.
Okay.
So, I mean, so for example, like Quincy Park, you could go to the library. There are sort of alternatives if you were to keep them open. But if you also just think, I mean, this is 19. We have hundreds of parks. So there are many other places where people
don't have bathrooms,
going to the bathroom anyway.
I see.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that this, again, like all of our cuts have real life impacts on people, and I'm very much aware of that. But like like people are going to the bathroom in our parks already, unfortunately.
Before we continue, I just wanted to mention it is 7:34. So I know that staff will need to transition into
In about 10
another
minutes.
meeting
Thank you.
very soon.
Thank you, Marco.
So a quick question, because you're mentioning the, how cold it was over the winters. Is there a certain staff cost when it comes to like, closing them down during periods of cold weather or getting the, turning off the water, to prevent the freeze thaw cycles from removing the pipes? Or is it exclusively vandalism that you're factoring this cost?
Cleaning, the cleaning.
So this is the cleaning costs.
Oh, it's just cleaning. It's not vandalism.
No, the 34,000 we spent on vandalism is on top of this.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just the operational cost to keep the restrooms open during that period of time. on the
I'm
contract.
curious as to whether there's any line item with dealing with, vandalism that's separate from deferred maintenance.
No.
Okay.
You've had your hand, just next to you, she's had her hand up.
I was wondering about the year management program. My dad, he does like the program they do in Fairfax, and they have both like organized drives where they have like these driving gear towards them, and they also have like, they can qualify and have. I'm just wondering about it's 71,000. I thought it was 700,000. I thought it was way more. I just wanted clarification on like what's being allocated towards and like what they do with the program.
So the major allocation for it is sharpshooting.
Okay.
Fairfax does do bow hunting. But Arlington is so small and our parks are so tight and the location, but where we are able to do the sharpshooting is like this 30-foot circle. And so as a result, we realized that when we did some work with a consultant, that bow hunting was not an appropriate, means in Arlington. So we only went with sharpshooting. It also has some work that we do on our own. So in terms of just like we're doing some exposures and some other work to also make sure that we're being effective. So there's a little bit of money that would go to the work we're doing, but most of it goes to the sharpshooting contract and also working with the police department to secure and close the parks when that happens. I'm not sure we would even potentially use all this funding. So we've talked about if we don't, we would then just apply it for the following year. So this year, we literally just ended our first year of it. We've never done it before this year. So, we will be coming out with data and information about how it worked.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I feel like you could probably get people like volunteer and do some sort of qualification and they could just do sharpshooting on a volunteer basis. I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that.
Just one last question for me. You call it repurposing of Barcroft. How would it be repurposed? Like, what is the plan? Once you get rid of gymnastics, since both gyms are currently like full of gymnastics equipment, what's the plan for that community center now?
So that was part of the reason why we're suggesting that we close it for a year. We don't know what is happening. Well, first of all, we don't know whether the board is going to potentially restore the program. So, but that was part of it. But also, we don't know the condition underneath the gyms to know what it would cost to restore them to the gym on the right, which is the gym 2, I think. With the pit, was always a gymnast and built as a gymnastics gym. The gym on the left, which I just call it left and right, but I think that's gym 1, used to be a gymnasium, and in 2015, it was converted to a gymnastics gym. So underneath that is a gym floor. So we weren't really clear what the conditions were or the cost would be to restore them to gymnasiums. But the idea would be to restore them to, one idea would be to, and this is just one idea, because we have not even had the time to do this yet, was to look to restore them to be gymnasiums and just do general recreational programming.
Just on the Long Bridge aquatics facility, I think, so my older son is a competitive swimmer, and so we often go to Fairfax, Oakmont, or, elsewhere in the region for big swim meets. So when we went as a sports commission to tour, it's such a beautiful facility that I would just encourage us to think about hosting large scale meets. I know there was one a few years ago that was like an international one. It sounded great, but also with the number of swim clubs in the area between, I can name like 5 off the top of my head. I think that could be a good opportunity. I understand that the benefit would be to the county with the rental fee, but also reduction in access for people who are paying for a membership or a day pass. But I think if there's a way to do this, and there would be a lot of interest from Arlington County and other regions in that area, so.
Yeah, we do. We host GW water polo matches, some parts of their like swim stuff, like swim meets. We also host local swim team meets as well. So like local swims around here. Yeah, and ASC hosts.
Yeah, I just know we just did one at Oakmont. There were 7,500 entries for a Friday night, Saturday, and all day Sunday at $10 an entry. So $75,000 for this meeting. I understand a lot of it is volunteer run for timers and others. So it seems like it would be a great opportunity, given the reduction in the Boeing funding, to really have that more frequently than the AAC ones. So just something to consider. Questions?
Thank you. Thank you for.
Well, thank you, everybody. It was nice to meet you. It's, they said before the budget will be adopted at the April board meeting. And then we will move right into the capital improvement plan. So we'll be seeing Eric Beach to talk about that, in a couple, probably, I'm not sure if maybe May or June, so for May. So, yeah, the conversation will keep going. Thank you. Thank you.
I think for the next portion of the meeting, we'll be actually having both the Sports Commission and the Park and Recreation Commission break out into small groups. We have small group tables at the back here. For those activities, one will include the icebreaker of what is your favorite park, facility, public space, or program that you'll be able to share amongst one another. We encourage that PRC and Sports Commission members alternate so that you have some folks from some commissions at each table to share that. But also we have a few small group discussion items that, if you'd like, the first one is the discussion of the fiscal year 2027 budget. And I know Sports Commission Chair Lizzie Stell might have some words on that.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a whole lot, but I think there's a quick turnaround. So everything you heard tonight, we'll discuss anything that stuck out to you. And I know Jill and I both have to provide feedback to the county board and then, very soon. So, but thank you to, to everybody for coming, everything that's been prepared for us. So thank you.
Great. And then the second item that the small groups can consider are just any additional priorities. I know that Jane mentioned that there will be additional presentations to both commissions in the next few months related to the CIP. Jill, I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to add on that.
Yeah, let me just, first off, just back up what Lizzie is saying about the operating budget. Our commission has received draft budget letter. So if you have any comments on that, I need those pronto. I'm going to send that in on April 1st, which is a few days before I'm appearing at the county board on April 8th. So if there's anything in there that changes based on what you heard tonight, please send it just to me so we don't violate the one-on-one rules. And then I'll turn that back around. And as far as upcoming things, the capital improvement plan, a big issue for us is the continuation of the struggle that we put forward to the county in November about invasive plant removal and trying to get that included as part of the capital item. Anyway, and then also don't forget the public spaces master plan is still up. It's about halfway finished and we'll be having meetings about that pretty soon. I think May 27th is a draft date.
Great.
Okay.
So I guess we'll transition into the small group discussions. We'll meet back here at the larger table at around 8:10.
Are there any commissioners online?
There are not.
Okay. Everybody's coming up. No birds.
Oh, no.
I think there's more tables. So we can clear it out.
No, seriously. I can just figure out where it's going.
Just, yeah. If you have a nice, if you don't know the bird number.
So maybe, thank you about that. Whether you did that purposely.
Or you, yeah.
Oh.
Put the camera back.
Yeah, I mean, that was pushing it. Hey, you solved all the problems, anybody?
We also do, if we go back to the exact same there.
This is the key, right?
Yeah, it's a wonder question. Are we listening? You're still looking. Drop them.
Now, here's my cigarette. Just
Last year, we had tables before now, but did you want to do that again?
Oh, I think we could do that. I mean,
Okay,
yeah, what do you think?
sure,
Okay.
but yeah.
What?
The tables, if somebody from each table kind of wants to talk about what was talked about.
And I think it could be on any of the two discussion items, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We didn't figure out, we were talking about things.
yeah, we didn't either, but
I think we could do it.
Unless David, we go to David. Jonathan. Anyway, we talked about both items. We talked about invasive plants, and we talked about the gymnastics program. Kind of wondering if the gym is repurposed to another use, what is the net gonna be? Is it gonna be similar to what it is with the gymnastics now, or is it gonna be significantly different? So we looked at that, and we also looked at it in context of, it's quite a specialized activity, but so are other things, like the boathouse. And then we also talked about having a nonprofit kind of idea. It sounds like maybe the salaries might have been an issue in terms of attracting, maybe people didn't want to be county employees or something, I don't know. We were kind of confused on that.
It's actually, if I may.
Yeah.
I think I don't really know this particular sport particularly well, but I think it's the opposite. I think there's benefits associated with being a county employee that you wouldn't necessarily be able to offer if you were hiring a coach on a kind of a part-time basis for a nonprofit. That's my interpretation.
That's my experience. I'm a grower. I'm on a, it's a nonprofit, but we all pay for whatever the costs are, and it's hard to get a coach, really hard. So anyway, so we talked about that, and then we talked about the capital budget. We talked about maybe some of the park, like the 3 parks, what's it called? The 3-something park? Parks, yeah, maybe some of those kind of things don't really need to be attended to. They can be put off for a while. In terms of saving money. And we talked a little bit about the big donation from Boeing and what other big corporate donations we could get, to make contributions to capital programs. And of course, the drumbeat I never stopped beating, which is the invasive plants and natural capital. Maintaining capital assets. Needs to be invested in the capital budget. Did I miss it? Okay. Who's that?
you never take another one, so.
Okay, listen.
Okay, I'm always looking to Andrew to talk, but things could change.
Too much.
So basically, our topics wandered a bit. We definitely talked gymnastics and the nonprofit angle and so on, the cost shifting, and that also talked about how much is it gonna cost to convert old space. That's definitely a trade-off. The other thing that we looked at, we chatted about was, what's the cost of vandalism? Is this more of a general problem, not just these bathrooms? And if so, what are the strategies trying to reduce that, that cost? Is this a more general cost for the facilities? And then we immediately decided to talk about the opening ball because three of us on the table didn't understand what the person was talking about. The public comment we had. And we're just like, okay, but Andrew knew what he was talking about, so Andrew informed the rest of the three of us what he was talking about.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think the limitation on the time there is very rushed, so context was difficult to pick up.
Yeah.
Who's got that for our?
Alex, Bruce at the end.
But
But if you want to be number two, you can.
it's a hot topic when my son goes to elementary school.
I mean, people have been calling me about it for 2 years
Yeah.
now. And when we went we had our field trip to that nature center, people were talking about that.
Isn't it already under construction? Like, it's already approved, it's already done deal.
I don't think so.
I looked at Google Maps, they already cleared all the land for it.
There was nothing, the land had been.
The land had been.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, the land
this is part- this is part of a much longer transaction that's been,
Yeah.
it's very confusing, but years ago, there used to be a VHC facility there. The county did a land swap with VHC. The county gave the VHC land that was next to the hospital in exchange for that piece of property in South Carolina Springs. They removed the buildings and then did nothing for about the next several years. And then recently, the county leased this land back to VHC for assault, for this sort of facility.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very strange.
So is this an example of the county leaving money on the table kind of thing?
Like $1 million?
If I had to characterize this, I would call this process, paralysis by analysis. The county has spent so much time studying this that they do anything, and then it just remained empty. While we kept on hearing from the county about how they had all of these needs, buried needs around it, and this piece of property just sat there for years and years and years. So they're doing something with it now, giving it back to VHC. Part that they got it from. And so now we'll talk about this.
So what I did was on the chat, I added a link to the proposal webpage, the site plan webpage. So if anyone wants to take a look at it, including the details behind what is being proposed for this 146 bed facility, you'll be able to get all of that information, including information on any additional meetings and the scheduling thereafter.
And I'm just peeking over your shoulder. It looks like the walkthrough is tomorrow. Everyone wants to know, right?
Really?
Isn't it?
Okay.
Isn't it?
First meeting was actually.
March 27th, yeah, the walk-in tour.
But that comes late.
You're putting that in the Teams channel?
Yes, I'm putting that on the Teams chat. And I'll put, actually a copy of the link to the walking tour announcement as well.
When is that tomorrow, Marco?
Yeah, I'll
But
get
you're
back
saying
to that.
not all of us are in.
That is between 12 and 1 PM.
Does everyone have access to that Teams meeting?
Yes, this is the joint meeting, link, I should say.
What other thing?
Well, we discussed a lot of the same things you all did, so I'm not gonna repeat that, but also we discussed the artificial versus natural turf. And how obviously sports has reasons for liking, well, but like, you know what I mean, like they have their reasons for, what fields need what turfs and whatnot. And parks is discussed, like park needs, but I think it's an interesting topic that I know was already in the live wire to touch, so it's good to discuss that and learn additional things about the topic. And you said there was someone at one of your meetings that came to discuss it?
Yeah, we had somebody from the county, 2 meetings ago, who gave us a nice briefing on all things.
Mostly about community grass.
Yeah, we had one on natural growth presentation, more biology focused, and then another one on the different types of turfs and shifting over to making artificial turf with more natural ingredients instead of nutshells, which are a wee bit scratchier, but a heck of a lot cooler.
And also more,
Environmentally.
Yeah.
It's environmentally neutral.
Does it make it like less hot?
Yeah.
And I don't know if like that was something that we could also get that person to come talk to us, just an idea for a speaker.
Our table talked a little bit about just the suddenness, especially about the gymnastics program announcement, especially how some of the severance offers came out to gymnastics staff, that it seemed like there really wasn't that much communication, and their timelines didn't seem like they really lined up especially. And so just some concerns about how the entire gymnastic program has been approached with this cut consideration, and also concerns about what would happen to the equipment at Barcroft, like how it would be sold or stored or managed during the transition period. Trying to maybe encourage the county to look at a more sort of gradual process of, examination before committing to something this profound, dramatic.
On the capital side, same table, we talked a little bit about the importance of lighting, like on fields, which was something that I was not aware of. Particularly the fields, but fields that could help really expand capacity. Help expand capacity north of, in the northern part of it.
Because all the light fields are for the most part in southeast farms. Except for Yorktown, that we know. One mystery that our group stumbled into is, where is the Quincy bathroom?
We talking about the porta potties?
I think they're talking about the bathroom that has an external and
Yes,
that looks like it's part of the library building.
yes.
So it kind of faces the baseball fields. So it is the library that.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the line.
It's like on the north side of the library, facing the diamond field.
I did a picture of this,
So
like,
the library's closed.
So the back parking lot, the smaller back parking lot, it's closer to that one.
The smaller building.
The smaller back parking lot.
It's right next to all the brown spots from all the games.
Isn't there a structure near the basketball court? There's
I think that's just a shed. Is that a shed?
Yeah, it's about that.
To make it shed. Yeah.
yeah, because we thought they were talking about the porta potty, I'm like, okay, we're calling it a facility now. But like,
Did we get all the tables and everything? Is there any other topics in the conversation? I want to bring up something that's been bugging me about this meeting. Not that, I mean, we love you guys and we love you talking to you. The problem I'm having is we don't seem to have the opportunity as a commission to discuss the budget among ourselves.
Right.
Before we have to turn around and come up with our comment. And, we're advisory to the county board. So I feel like we need to have good representation going into that letter so we can, advise the county board. And I'm not sure what to do about it. I've mentioned it in every letter I've ever sent to them that this is not, the timeline is not the best. And then when we combine it with a meeting with sports and rec, sports and parks and rec in the same meeting.
Do you think we should move our meeting to a different month?
Well, it was in February.
It wasn't February.
Usually it's in February, yeah.
Okay.
It was, thought it was the county said they weren't going to present chair.
I think the reasoning behind it was that the budget was not public until after, I guess, the last time that we both were meeting, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's really this joint meeting that's the issue. I think it's the actual timeline that the county controls. Because we only meet once a month.
Right.
And so, if one of those meetings is this meeting where we're not allowed to, discuss and then take a vote on with the, and record and do, business, and record what our positions are, that puts us in an awkward position.
Your conspiracy theorists think we did on purpose.
I'm just thinking like, Jane, it's certainly convenient for her to present that once to all of us, but then would we ever have that presentation, but then have our own separate meetings? And then our joint meeting would be at another time that we,
Or
Well, ideally.
could we just have divided into two
right,
places here and.
Yeah, I think, Adam, what you're thinking is you have an hour presentation, we have the joint meeting. And we split,
Sure, to two
we have two
separate-
different rooms.
Can we do
We happily both.
I think logistically, that would be very difficult to do within one space. And I think that's the reason why we've been accommodating having both commissions in one, in one room and for the purposes of discussing the budget.
So if sports were over there, Parks and Rec were over here, does the issue that you can hear each other a bit matter at all?
It could be, yeah.
Well, but you've got a door, a wall that opens up and divides the room in half.
But I think you would still be able to hear, because it's not,
Gotta be recorded.
But these two screens, you can have separate. They're separate rooms. Separate team meetings, right? So.
Yeah, but Mark.
You can have a separate, close down one meeting, open the other. I don't think that the chatter between the two commissions is gonna be a problem for either commission.
Well, I think ideally what they should do is give us a joint meeting in February. And then we can have our March meeting to take our position, and then we would present it in a time for the April.
That would mean we would have to have the budget presentation in February.
In February.
So we could insist on it and say, look, you gotta.
But, we can't insist on that because.
Yeah, the budget. I work in a budget office.
If there is a
They're really
budget-
married to
I guess we-
time development, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, if anybody has any great ideas about that.
So do we have flexibility on the,
We have a little bit.
right? I mean, couldn't we just say,
We could've-
whenever in February the budget is available, we want a presentation within the next 7 to 10 days?
I think it's pretty late in February that the budget's usually ready.
yes.
And so with February only having, 28 days.
29.
And 29,
Every year.
it's it might be insane. I think it was probably pretty crazy for Jane at that time.
Could we have a separate meeting? Could we just have a separate meeting that's not taking the place of our normal meeting?
March meeting.
Or earliest March,
Early in March.
like, wouldn't that solve what you're getting at? Because it does seem like if you need to present by April 1st, right, then it is a quick turnaround. It's March 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
It could be a shorter meeting. It could just be,
just a one subject meeting.
Right.
Is there a team solution where, maybe I'm missing the point, where Jane gets on and presents to all the commissions, the budget, and then does a series of meetings after, once we've had a chance to process and
Right, like,
run some ideas, so you end up.
so that instead of her going to forestry and
Oh, I
all of
see.
these, she does a meeting in early March that everyone dials into. She doesn't have to travel. I don't know if that has to be in person. We
Yeah,
all
I'm
get to
not
listen to
sure.
her.
For the purposes of, I guess, convening meetings and public notice requirements and things like that, that would be something to discuss with her to see how that could potentially work, but. Yeah,
It certainly favor heck of a lot of time. And
Right.
you would do it with the stipulation you can't ask questions.
Right.
Because that would get into the recording, the issue.
That's right.
And then she would have, then afterwards, she could call in. But it certainly saved her a heck of a lot of travel time.
Or maybe she could just record a presentation
Well, she did. I mean,
Well, she did.
the work session was recorded. It's on the website. It's on the website. It's on.
Well, that's
It's exactly the same.
We'd all be required to watch it before we go.
Well, I'm sure you watched it. Anyway, I don't know what the right solution is.
So, but do you have a concern for this budget? What are you thinking of and
Well, the-
showing the responses now?
Well, the way I've decided to address it is by, number one, asking for input from each commissioner directly to me.
Right,
Then I drafted a letter that I sent out to everybody that asked for comments directly back to me and nobody else, so that we can avoid the two persons, more than two person rule.
But it does compromise the deliberative nature of it.
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
actually to deliver.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you send me a copy of the Virginia Open Meetings logs? I'm very curious as to whether there's other avenues than the back and forth in which we can only reply to you. I know there's some options in which, like, if it's I think that there's one state like Texas, I don't know if Virginia allows this, in which it's like, as long as it's a publicly available, like, chat in which you guys cannot really directly reply to each other, but you can post like it's a message forum that thus everybody can see each other's communications, but they aren't exactly engaging in the meeting. What I'm saying is that I think there's some ways to maneuver with the Virginia public meeting law that make it a little easier for us.
Well, the problem is the county lawyers are too restricted. They're not open to the idea of ways around it. They're.
Yes and no. I mean, we have to pass every new year, we have to pass our meetings, procedures, which, as much as I joke when we passed ours, that we don't really have a choice in this, do we? I think we should look a little bit closer and see if there's any wiggle room that we have.
That's a good idea. Help me, send me an email on it. I remember that.
but
I
Joe,
think there is a technology solution, as you're saying, there, because of these two commissions, forestry and
E2C2.
I already know.
I know. I guess they're not on there.
But if there was one team's presentation in early part of March, and then everybody could watch it or participate in it, and then you have a normal meeting of each commission.
Yeah. And then we can have our joint meeting.
Mid-March.
Time.
Anytime.
Right. Is there anything special about March to bring the two commissions together?
No, I think it was just like a convenience for the budget, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so we could do it any other time.
However, we would still, I assume, want Jane or her representative to be available to answer questions. I mean, that is a big part of these presentations, is the one-on-one. Getting a canned presentation that everybody watches is not the same
Oh,
as.
that's a good
I
point.
mean, if we don't get the ability to directly ask clarification.
but I think
questions.
what I think Adam was suggesting was she makes a presentation, we can watch, she gives it to everybody, and then she has separate questions and answers with the different commissions.
That's right. Right, it's a shorter meeting. She shows them half an hour, minutes as opposed to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But for three commissions, they're all gonna ask a different question.
Right, so that's why you have
So,
different three commissions.
so is that really less time for her?
Yes, but she's not giving the presentation there.
I mean, it saves some time for her.
I mean, I would almost say if you were gonna have her do a virtual presentation, you let there be a 30-minute Q&A. And everybody on it can, because I think a lot of the questions are gonna be similar, right? So, you know, I still think it would be less time for her just to do it once.
Well, I'm leaving it in your hands because I'm rolling off.
We have room on the sports commission.
Well,
Right, but for this month, Lizzie and Jill, you both want replies quickly to the stuff you've been circulating.
Yeah.
And don't CC anybody else to send it directly to you.
April 1st as well, yes.
yeah, we'll try for it. I mean, if it drops a day or two, that's something. Anything else anybody wants to say? You're gonna get in the call? been really great meeting the sports commission people. I really enjoyed that. And we've learned a lot from that.
And we're trying to recruit you. Gotta work on the boathouse for another 3 years.
That's pretty enticing.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving you, Jeff. Jeff's gonna be working on the boathouse for this. All right.
When do you roll off?
The end of, May. All right,
Motion to adjourn.
I think so, right? Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
If we don't adjourn, we're gonna get drafted here all night long.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.